Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We are getting started on a beautiful Saturday. A beautiful, beautiful Saturday. I gotta ask, what else could we be doing? I got this beautiful music in my ears. This beautiful start music in my ears. Let's go. Right in time, too. Right on time. I know you can't hear it yet. I'll get it set up. Don't worry. We got to mute it. I'm sorry. I love the intro music as much as y'all. I do. Who's gold, my guy? Already coming in with the $100. I didn't even say anything yet, but it is a beautiful Saturday. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I will turn on the audio. I promise. Unfortunately, that music is proprietary. We are in, ladies and gentlemen, for
our Electron rocket stands tall on Pad A at Launch Complex 1 in Mahia, New Zealand. We are preparing for liftoff at 9:43 a.m. local time or 20:43 UTC. Welcome to launch day for our next Kineis mission, IoT for you and me. My name is Sam Peters.
And I'm Matt Tier, and we'll be sharing live updates with you as we go to space once again in just over 18 minutes from now. After a record-breaking year in 2024, we launched a total of 16 Electron and HASTE missions. Today's launch is the first of 2025, and it kicks off our busiest launch manifest yet.
Today's mission is our 59th launch overall and our 4th for the team at Kineis, an Internet of Things constellation operator based in France. We have been Kineis' exclusive launch provider to date and have completed 3 successful missions for them last year, deploying 5 satellites per Electron launch. Today, another 5 satellites will join those already in orbit. Now, today's launch is the 4th of 5 we have booked for Kineis to deploy their entire constellation. The first 3 missions were launched in June, September, and November 2024. Each of these missions lifted off from LC-1 in Mahia on board an Electron launch vehicle. Across the 3 missions to date, we've deployed 15 Kineis satellites to orbit. And like all Electron missions, each launch received a unique name. The team at Kineis have had a lot of fun with their mission names so far, drawing inspiration from the objective of their constellation, which enables both IoT and AIS, or Automatic Identification System. They've aptly named their missions to date No Time to Lose, in a nod to the company's location in France, Kineis Killed the Raid IoT Star, and ICE AIS Baby. Today's mission has been dubbed IoT for you and me, and that leaves just one more upcoming mission to be named. But you'll have to wait and see what the Kineis team have dreamed up for the 5th and final launch. They have booked this as part of a bulk buy deal on Electron.
No matter what the mission name, each liftoff is...
Oh, there he is!
And that sight of Electron piercing the sky never gets old.
Hello, everyone.
Satellites
going
inside
good.
the fairing. They're headed to a 647-kilometer orbit at an inclination of 97 degrees. Each of the 5 satellites will deploy from the payload plate on Electron's kick stage at staggered intervals. This is to ensure they settle into their own
orbits. When he's supposed to put the kicks
That
down,
moment of deployment will occur around an hour and 6 minutes after liftoff. So, while we wait for the countdown, let's take a closer look at what Kineis' constellation enables.
I'm supposed to be putting the kids to sleep, but I snuck away.
Satellite operators and global connectivity providers.
He ran away.
Dedicated
He's supposed to be
the
putting the
Internet
kids
of
down.
Things. Mountains, oceans, deserts. 85% of the planet has
What I will
no
say, so
network
this one,
coverage.
this
In
might be a little bit
2020,
different than
Kineis
some of the other
raised a
ones, right?
large
So
amount
sometimes
of
they have like a
100
2 to 3
million
hour
euros
window.
to
This is supposed to be an
address this global
instantaneous
issue.
window.
Today, the company is following through
so-
and will deploy a constellation of 25 nanosatellites
We don't launch
that
in
will
15
enable it
minutes.
to
We're
connect to a
have to
multitude of
scrub for another
objects
day.
anywhere on the planet in near real time. Kineis is convinced that this transmission of
Say pronounce it
information,
Kineis?
made possible by
Kineis.
satellite connectivity, will enable it to respond to crucial challenges for mankind, its activities, and its environment. On the environmental front, for example, Kineis's connectivity can detect a fire outbreak in less than 15 minutes, thus considerably reducing the extent of the outbreak and reducing the loss of property and human life. The same goes for monitoring water levels to prevent flooding and use this dwindling resource. The applications are endless, whether for locating, monitoring, or alerting. Since its creation in 2018, Kineis and its teams have been working with this objective in mind. Their 25 nanosatellites that weigh only 28 kilograms are real technological gems. The retractable UHF antenna that, for example, can hear a bird sing within a rock concert 650 kilometers from Earth. They have been with thrusters to ensure they stay on track for their mission. Some even carry children's drawings. At the same time, Kineis has deployed many ground stations worldwide and have a sovereign infrastructure to guarantee data transmission to its clients. Today is a decisive day. Rocket Lab will launch the 4th rocket. 5 additional Kineis satellites will orbit in space, bringing the constellation to 20 satellites out of 25.
There's another one.
This new launch will considerably strengthen the service's performance. There is only one more launch before the final deployment of the constellation. Kineis's team can't wait.
Hell yes! As DJ Khaled would say, another one.
Not long to go now until the next 5 Kineis satellites are headed to orbit in just 13 minutes remaining in the countdown until today's instantaneous liftoff opportunity.
All right, at T-minus 13 minutes to liftoff, let's check in with the launch operators in mission control to hear that go, no-go poll for today's launch. Operators based in 2 locations will indicate their readiness to the launch director. And as always, what we are looking for is greens across the board. Operators based in range control, which you can see on the right side of your screen there, are located in Mahia, just a few kilometers back from the launch pad itself. This team is typically monitoring ground systems and the range exclusion zone. Our other team of operators, which you can see on the left side of your screen, are based right here in mission control, which is one of several that we operate. They are typically monitoring vehicle systems, payload health, and other factors like weather. Let's listen in for their calls as they work towards the poll, led by Launch Director Paula Tares Serralonga.
It's your funniest shit, man. You just straight up and like, I gotta sneak away real quick.
Okay, I gotta run, guys. See you soon.
No. All right, well, you got 12 minutes. All right, everybody. How is everybody doing on this beautiful Saturday? Always a good time to hang out with you guys. I'm sorry. We normally do the normal roll call here in about 2 hours. It's actually an hour and a half, but luckily we got a launch today. So let's listen to roll call.
Station LD in Mission Core proceeding with the go-no-go sequence stage.
Stages go.
Avionics.
Avionics is go.
GNC.
GNC's go.
Vicon.
Vicon is go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
GC's go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
RSO.
RSO is go.
MET. MM.
MM's go.
LD sub.
LD sub is go.
Go-no-go sequence complete. We are T-minus 11 minutes, 21 seconds and counting. We are go for terminal count auto sequence starting at T-minus 10 minutes. From this time, the 3-word hold procedure is in effect.
Houston is go. All right, guys, it's a great time to be a Rocket Lab shareholder, man. We have so many things going on in 2025, and as you heard them talk on the screen.
You heard it, folks. We are go for launch, and the count is proceeding. We're at T-minus 10 minutes until liftoff. Now, if you've been watching Electron launches for a while, you know that we often have an availability window in which to lift off the pad on launch day. Typically, this is 2 to 4 hours long, and it gives us the flexibility to select the perfect liftoff time on the day based on optimal weather conditions. Today's mission, like all the Kineis launches before it, is a little different because it requires an instantaneous liftoff. That time is dictated by customer requirements, which is a benefit of flying dedicated on Electron. By having complete control over the launch time, our customers can ensure their spacecraft get deployed at exactly the right time and to exactly the right location. So for today's launch, that means it lifts off at precisely 9:43 a.m. local time, or it doesn't go. If we did need to stand down for any reason, we'd come back another day to hit that liftoff time.
Today is all about launch, but as we like to say around here, there are more than just rockets in this lab. As Electron progresses through the count, let's take a look at some of the other exciting missions our team have been enabling. Right now, a rocket lab designed and built spacecraft is orbiting Earth. It is supporting a capsule for Varda Space Industries, which is a microgravity-enabled life sciences company. They process materials in orbit and return them to Earth.
Varda's W2 mission is supported by a Rocket Lab Pioneer spacecraft that provides power, communications, propulsion, and attitude control to Varda's 120 kilogram capsule. Inside that capsule are some innovative payloads, including a spectrometer from the Air Force Research Laboratory. The capsule also employs a heat shield with a thermal protection system developed in collaboration with NASA's Ames Research Center. These payloads are in addition to Varda's expanded pharmaceutical reactor, which will increase the capability.
All right, I got to say, thank you, Fool's Gold, for the continued super chats. You were the man, the myth, the legend. It's always a good time to be investing in the company. We are at a discount of $27.44. It's going to be a good time when it comes to investing in Rocket Lab. There's a lot of catalysts coming up. We're going to hear more about it in the 1Q earnings call. Specifically Neutron and many other things. Let's listen into what they're talking about here.
Groundbreaking platform. The ability to use a propulsion system on a re-entry probe back to Earth is pretty sweet.
I like this song.
We built the solar panels, we built the structure, we built the propulsion system, we have all the software that we built, the reaction wheels with star trackers, the separation systems we built. So all of these things, normally you would aggregate from various suppliers, but we have such a wide and diverse
piece of
satellite
my guy.
business internally that we're able to pull these things together really, really quickly and build these spacecrafts at both a cost and also a pace that's really unmatched.
Well, what's next for space systems in the near future is we've got 3 more coming down the pipeline for Varda. This bus specifically, we can support a number of different kinds of missions.
So Rocket Lab is not just a launch company. We're building constellations of spacecraft right here in our factory in California.
Love it, love it, love it.
The W2 mission is our second for Varda, and a third Pioneer spacecraft has just been delivered to Vandenberg Space Force Base for launch in the coming weeks. It is a very exciting time to be a part of our space systems team. If you want to design, build, and operate missions like this.
So for that, the W2 Winnebago 2 was actually launched by the Falcon 9 rocket, and then it's being operated by Rocket Lab as well. And then you also have the third one that will, I think, also be launched by SpaceX.
Yeah. Right now on your screen is a live view of Launch Complex 3, located in the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport within NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. It sits alongside the much smaller pad for Electron and HASTE, but there are, of course, quite a few key differences. The first is the most obvious. It's much, much bigger. Electron stands at just 18 meters tall, whereas Neutron is more than twice that at over 40 meters tall and up to 7 meters in diameter. Recently, Neutron's launch mount was installed ahead of the first launch, and you can really see the sense of scale from the people standing nearby versus Electron's launch mount next door at LC2.
Wow.
Now, if you are familiar with our launch pads at LC1 and 2 for Electron, you will know that they feature a strong back to hold Electron in place vertically ahead of launch. Neutron's pad at LC3, however, will not feature a strong back. Instead, Neutron's landing legs will be held down by the launch mount itself. Each hold down is designed for a compression force of 2.1 meganewtons and a tension force of 2.1 meganewtons. Other recent additions to LC3 include two
That's really
enormous
cool.
LN2 vaporizers. These will be used to supply gaseous nitrogen for the vacuum and environmental conditioning system for Neutron when it's on the pad. And with that, the large infrastructure items are done and dusted at LC3. Now it is a case of connecting all systems together and running them through a vigorous test and commissioning phase as we count down to Neutron's inaugural flight later this year.
That's really cool.
Speaking of countdowns, we are just T-minus 4 minutes before liftoff at LC1 for today's Electron mission.
Yes, I did plan on doing a earnings chat, and I know we'll definitely be doing one for at least Rocket Lab Weekly a week or so before we actually have the actual earnings. And I think it's February 27th. If you guys can correct me if I'm wrong there, it'll be a good time. It'll be a good time. I'm expecting a lot. We already heard that the 2025 is going to be the busiest year for the Electron/Haste body. So that'll be fun. Then obviously we have the Neutron, and then hopefully towards the latter half of the year, we are racing towards profitability. And hopefully we don't have a delay in Neutron.
Deployment.
And since Rutherford uses an electric motor to power its propellant pumps rather than a traditional gas turbine, Electron carries batteries on board to power those pumps. Our engineers and designers devised a very clever system of ridding ourselves of those batteries once they are depleted. This saves mass on the way to orbit. It is a process that we call battery hot swap. It allows us to switch to a fresh set of batteries mid-flight and is a milestone that takes place around 6.5 minutes into flight. From there, the second stage engine finally shuts down at 9 minutes into flight, and that's when the kick stage separates from that second stage and settles into a coast phase around Earth for around 40 minutes. The final phase is orbit circularization and payload deployment. About 52 minutes after liftoff, the tiny 3D printed Curie engine on the kick stage will ignite to circularize its orbit and shut down just before all 5 of those satellites are deployed in sequence to their final homes in space. All of that will take place in just 2 minutes from now. As we enter the final count, Electron will enter the auto sequence. This is when the vehicle takes over control and prepares for liftoff. Let's hand it over to the operators in mission control to listen in on that sequence.
Yeah, they're in spared.
Computer Askers Arcrane.
Confirmed.
Clear call for auto sequence start at T-minus 2 minutes. LDs go for launch.
There's definitely bear cases, right? Neutron is supposed to launch middle of this year. If it doesn't, it gets pushed back 6 months, maybe even a year. That can obviously have some bearish sentiment on the stock. Might take longer to get to profitability than expected as well. I mean, I think there's a lot of catalysts within 2025 that could really have that. And Neutron's going to be extremely interesting to watch, right? It's a new vessel, different engines, different type of fuel. So all different types of designs that need to kind of be retrofitted and not retrofitted, but verified and tested. And we have yet to get to an integrated test, right? We've tested stage 1 tanks, we've tested stage 2 tanks, we've tested the engine, but we haven't tested in wet dressed, rehearsal the entirety of the rocket as of yet. I say we, and as a collective community and lovers of Rocket Lab, they have yet to do that. And so with that, it's a much larger vessel, way different way of creating the vessel itself. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but we've been cautiously optimistic because we've seen things going in the positive direction. And it's not their first rodeo. They've launched the they've launched this Electron rocket many a times. And with that, this is the 59th launch that will occur within the next minute. And with that, we're hopeful and, cautiously optimistic that middle of this year, they will continue to do well. And it seems like they're checking off things rather than things going wrong, at least from what we've seen. So cautiously optimistic. But that's the bear case is that unfortunately we get pushed.
Approach is enabled.
I'm fairly certain that Beck will at least give us a heads up whether or not it's on track or if there's any sort of delays or some sort of announcement coming for certain. I'm fairly certain of that.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting.
We're 4 months, 5 months away. The June-July time was when they kind of have it scheduled. So if there's any push to August, November, I'm sure he would let us
10,
know.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Quiet! There it is. They got the videos back. Look at that. There's the sound.
Beginning the turbo.
It's moving quick. They only have 100 kilograms on board, guys. They said each one is like 28 kilograms. They're launching 5 of them today. So it's not a very booked rocket.
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
Hell yes. 59, success. So far.
IoT for you and me is on its way to space. Electron has lifted off from the pad at Launch Complex 1 and has commenced its 9-minute journey to orbit. The vehicle has cleared the pad, so next up is max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure. This is the moment in flight when Electron experiences peak structural load. Let's listen in for that call out from Mission Control.
Yeah, we still got stage 2 and max Q to get through. I might have misspoke. Success already. But I'm very
Cleared
confident.
max Q.
There it is.
And that's the call we're looking for. Electron has successfully cleared max Q. We're now at 15 kilometers in altitude and traveling at over 2,200 kilometers an hour. Up next is a particularly busy time in flight. Electron will go through main engine cutoff, or MECO, followed by stage separation and then second stage ignition. Having depleted all the propellant in the first stage, we don't need to carry what is essentially a giant empty fuel tank the rest of the way to orbit. So we jettison the first stage and continue the rest of the mission with just the stage 2. Let's listen in for those calls.
Stage 1 propulsion holding nominal. Stand by for MECO in approximately 30 seconds.
Really cool way to put it, man. Yeah, we are all collective shareholders and stakeholders in the success of Rocket Lab.
15 seconds till staging.
And if you're not, you can get the fuck out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Me.
Chorus can stay.
Burnout detect mode.
What a beautiful shot of New Zealand.
MECO confirmed.
This always makes me nervous.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stage 2 ignition confirmed.
All right.
There we have it. Successful MECO, stage separation, and second stage ignition confirmed. Electron's second stage is now continuing the mission to orbit with those 5 Kineis satellites attached to the kick stage. Very soon, we can dispense of the fairing that has been protecting those satellites from the intense conditions of launch. The 2 halves of the fairing will split and fall away, exposing the satellite to space in preparation for deployment.
I always get super nervous when stage 2 ignition happens, and I never get excited, or like my anxiety doesn't wash until...
Those are the magic words. Electron's fairing has been jettisoned. We are now at 3 minutes into flight with less than 6 minutes remaining in this second stage burn.
Until I see the orange cone of the second stage light up with that single Rutherford engine, I don't get too excited. So now I'm excited.
HPB discharge holding nominal.
Look how big that battery is, man. I wonder if as battery technology...
With Electron's fairings gone, the payloads are now exposed to the vacuum of space. But we're doing things a little differently with Neutron. Neutron's captive fairing will stay attached to stage 1, and our second stage will be deployed from within. The fairing halves are large and complex composite structures, so we prefer to keep hold of them for rapid reuse of stage 1.
That's a really good point. I never really thought about it. But yeah, like you'll almost see stage 1 to stay, and then you'll see the fairings open up and stage 2 launch out of stage 1 and Neutron. So it is a completely different design as well. Going back to like the bearish thoughts and what could happen, what could go wrong. It's like the first stage falls away, right? It basically just gets disconnected And you can see, like, as you see it,
some stunning views of Earth there from space as we head out over the South Pacific Ocean. T plus 4 minutes into flight, and Electron is soaring at around 11,000 kilometers per hour, passing through 180 kilometers in altitude.
this thing's going 12,000 kilometers an hour. That's insanity. But as you saw, like, the momentum, even though they shut off that main engine and they were going for the second stage launch, or at least ignition, you could see that first stage was still kind of like riding with it until that second stage engine started. And you could see, like, it wasn't like the stage 1 was blown away. It was the fact that the stage 2 started to gain further speed based off the fact that the second engine was ignited, right? So versus the first one, it's like almost...
So far, Electron has progressed through a successful liftoff, stage separation, second stage ignition, and fairing separation. These are all pretty standard phases in flight for all launch vehicles, but the next milestone is one that's unique to Rocket Lab. We call it battery hot swap. The batteries powering the electric motors driving the propeller pumps on the engine deplete over time. And when they're drained, we eject them and swap to a fresh set for the rest of the journey to orbit. Watch closely and you might just see those batteries slip out of sight once jettisoned.
It's this big silver thing.
Throttling down.
So battery number 1.
Battery jettison confirmed.
All right. And I'm curious, as batteries get better and better.
Batteries. That is a successful hot swap. We are now around 6 minutes into flight at an altitude of about 206 kilometers. We have sailed through most of the key milestones for this launch, with just a few more to come, including SECO, or second engine cutoff. At that point, the Rutherford engine will throttle down, eventually coming to a stop in preparation for kick stage separation. That moment will mark the end of the first mission phase, and it's coming up at 9 minutes into flight.
All right, so we have 2 minutes. So what I'm hoping is eventually those batteries that get that are there connected up, is they continue to design those over time. As batteries get better and better, right? Just like hard drives. Hard drives can store more, and etc. So my hope is that eventually Rocket Lab's already redesigned those batteries to be able to get single-digit improvements on lift. And so originally, people were saying that...
So what you're looking at on your screen is our vacuum-optimized Rutherford engine. It might look simple, but there's a lot of systems keeping everything running smoothly. Each engine, sea level and vacuum, has a dedicated engine controller, which performs local, closed-loop control computations for that engine. That involves sensor sampling, processing, and also position control of engine valves and actuators. This includes the thrust vector controllers, or TVCs, which gimbal the engine to give us direction. However, each of these engine controllers are themselves centrally commanded by the flight computer, which performs the overall guidance, navigation, and control for the entire vehicle.
So yeah, what I was basically trying to get after was, as batteries get optimized,
Burnout detect mode.
the hope is that we can continue to increase lift capability. Keep in mind, we're only
You
doing
might
about
remember
100
earlier in the
kilograms.
show, we mentioned that Rutherford would begin to throttle down for shutdown. Well, we're now fast approaching that point. Soon you'll hear an operator call out, entered burnout detect mode, and you'll know that SECO is close.
Mm-hmm. We already got single-digit optimization of the lift capability. So my hope is as batteries continue to get better, smaller, etc., we can continue to increase it closer to 350, maybe 400 kilograms in the long term.
Stage separation confirmed.
And just like that, Electron's Rutherford engine has shut down. That is a successful SECO and kick stage separation. The kick stage, still carrying the 5 satellites for Kineis, is now in a transfer orbit. It will coast around Earth for around 40 minutes. After this, the Curie engine on the kick stage will ignite for a short burn to circularize our orbit in preparation for payload deployment. While we wait for that payload deployment, now's a good time to think about whether you'd like your work days to look like this as well.
Currently, we're hiring across our launch and space systems teams in the US, Canada, and New Zealand. So discover what a career at Rocket Lab might look like for you.
If you walk into any of Rocket Lab's facilities, the first thing you'll read is "We go to space to improve life on Earth." And that's really the foundation of the entire mission of Rocket Lab. So the way to think about Rocket Lab is we're not just a launch company, not just a spacecraft
I have a
company.
shrine
We
of
are an
Peter in my
end-to-end
bedroom.
Space company.
I'm just going to
And I
say
think
it.
what sets Rocket Lab apart is you actually get to build hardware that goes to space. And not just go to space, but go to Mars, go to the moon. You're never like a little gear in a giant machine. You get given huge responsibilities within the company. If you come to work at Rocket Lab, you can expect to build beautiful things that work beautifully. Don't expect 9 to 5, but do expect to have an actual meaningful impact on the world.
Yes. Yes. There she is, my girl Muriel. Their videos are getting way better in time, that's for sure. Not that they were ever bad. Not that they were ever bad.
You have all of that and more to look forward to as part of the Rocket Lab team. So jump on our website to browse those open roles and apply today. For now, though, we're going to take a short break and be back with you in around 50 minutes for payload deployment. We'll see you then.
This is the point where I got to mute, I think. Yep. Awesome. Wow. 59th launch. Very good. It is, yes, a $13 billion company doing a lot, doing an absolute lot to be able to do these things. And I think a lot of people are asking, you know, is $27 a good price to buy? Is $30 a good price to buy? And I have to ask you, do you know many other launch companies? And I'm not saying that as an asshole or anything like that. I'm just saying I think that this is the moat that they have built themselves and awarded themselves. Does it make sense from a financial standpoint? And I'm a valuation guy, you know, trust me. I'm a guy that always looks at the financials, and you have to recognize is there's a place where you have to recognize and understand, you know, what does it take to build something? What does it take to get you to somewhere? And unfortunately, we've seen companies with $5 billion, $10 billion of funding not get to the place where Rocket Lab has been able to do it. Part of it's luck. Part of it is capital efficiency. Part of it is the founders and the technical execution capability that's within the organization itself. But at the end of the day, I think there's a whole bunch of different avenues which this company has been successful. And I think for anybody to have a shot at being able to accomplish what Rocket Lab has been able to do over these past 20 years, 15 to 20 years, and more so since 2017, that first Electron launch, going on 8 years ago, you need at least $15 billion to be able to do that. And look how much, I'm sure, if you go ask Bezos how much money he put in to Blue Origin, how much money that Elon put in to SpaceX, these guys have been able to put in way more. So maybe they're a little bit ahead. Maybe their launch capability is a little bit faster. But at the end of the day, these guys were able to bootstrap their way through it from a place that didn't even have a damn space program to even be able to get contracts and help supplement revenues and everything of the like. It's quite astonishing of a story, and it just goes to show you the testament of the execution capability of the folks within Rocket Lab, and I'm really curious to see where they take this going forward. It's not just a rocket company, though, right? You can see the satellites aspect of things, their operations capability. These guys do it all, and I think that that's part of the beauty of it. And I'm really looking forward to not only just the fact that we have a lot of catalysts in 2025, but so many catalysts and beyond. 2025, you're talking about the Neutron, you're talking about potential profitability towards the latter half of the year, you're talking about continued delivery of mega constellations that'll be going up into space, whether it's launched by Blue Origin, whether it's launched by the Falcon 9 rocket, who knows? But eventually you'll have that Neutron capability to launch constellations on our own. And then not only that, but Rocket Lab soon will be announcing their own constellation and the capability that that will be able to bring. And hopefully the large gross margins that you'll be able to seek from that and be able to add to the bottom line. Comparable to what SpaceX is doing with Starlink. Is it going to be exactly the same? No. Is it going to be as profitable? Who knows? But at the end of the day, in terms of percentage profitability, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's going to be something that will continue to add to the bottom line of the company and will be allowing Rocket Lab to continue to build an end-to-end space company and catch up to its competitors like SpaceX. So cautiously optimistic. You know, these guys are continuing to do really, really good work. And with that, I'm happy that we are majority of us in here, the 100 or so that are watching on YouTube, however many of you that are watching on X, the one of you watching on Twitch. Man, I'm happy to be a shareholder, and I hope you guys are as well. It's a lot of fun. So more than happy to sit around, answer questions, or shoot the crap with anybody within the next few minutes or so. I don't know if I'm going to be waiting for the actual announcement for everything to kind of go off and burn. I think the rocket launch is generally speaking the best part of this, and they might come back and say, hey, you know, we launched successfully, and they might come on and talk about some verbiage about, yes, this is satellite number 1 deployed, number 2. You don't actually see any images of that. It might be a cartoon or a rendition of it. But anyway, hopefully that works well. If any of you guys are interested in watching on Twitch in the future, please go ahead and subscribe over there. Eventually, I would like to get monetized on that as well. I'll always co-stream. That's not anything that I'm not going to co-stream. I know I've tried in the past to get people to go over to Twitch. That was just a brief moment when I was trying to hit a threshold, and now I've hit that threshold. Now I just need 3 constant people watching on Twitch at all times, and eventually, over time, I'll be able to get to a place where I'll be monetized over there as well, and I'll be able to help with respect to hopefully eventually giving an avenue, an exit ramp for me to do something like this full time. That's kind of the hope. But anyway, let's run through some of these questions, man. You guys are always beautiful and always have really good thoughts. And I appreciate the diversity of thought that the chat always brings to these kind of conversations. So let's start here. A bit worried about Neutron being pushed back. I don't see a world where they have everything in place by summer. I can hear that, man. It's literally a rocket science, you know. I think we'll definitely hear more in the 1Q earnings call. So hopefully within the next 20 days, we will know more. But I'm cautiously optimistic that while they haven't been maybe as forthcoming as what I'm thinking they could be in terms of the status checks that they've been able to do. Like Tank 1 is done. Actually, let's just take a quick look at that. Where they're at with respect to Neutron, because I'm not on mute, am I? Okay, good. So let's see. So from 2023, Stage 2 build, structural cryogenic testing, Archimedes engine build, hardware flight, first Archimedes engine test was mid last year, Stage 1 build, Stage 2 build, AFP machine, so the world's largest full-scale printer. And then what they need to do is qualification of stage 2, mechanism test flight programs, engine qualification, stage 1, launch complex 3, construction complete, regulatory approval, static fire, vehicle integration. It's a lot. It's a lot. So there very well could be a pushback, right? And to be not so pessimistic about it, because it is kind of pessimistic to say this, but they are going very quickly. Most people take over 7 to 10 years to be able to get a rocket online. And these guys are doing it in less than 5. In fact, I think they're trying to do it in just over 3. So if there's a pushback and they unfortunately don't get after it, then I think that's okay. They still think that they have excellent execution ability. But yes, I think that they've done close to a lot of these things, and hopefully within the coming months they'll be able to do just that. Where am I? There it is. I lost myself. There I am. Let's see. This is just a $13 billion company. Legit blows my mind how there are so much achievements, talents, accomplishments with such small valuation. I'm definitely buying more. I don't care the price. Just be cautious, man. As much as I love the company, there could always be a pullback, and I always look at it like just whenever you see an opportunity and you have a little bit, just trickle in. My cost basis is low. It's in the single digits, but I'm slowly trickling in. I have buy set up on the 15th on the last day of every month. 1% of my salary is always going into these guys at a minimum, and I'm probably closer to 2%. Now, if I get a bonus, which I'm getting a few bonuses this year in terms of influx, retention bonuses, etc. I shouldn't call them retention. I should be calling them share-based compensation. Get some share-based compensation this year. Once some of those comes in, am I going to continue to leave it in UDOC, or am I going to use it for other? It's like I work for UDOC. UDOC pays a lot of my bills, obviously, and I would like to get to a place where have a little bit more in Rocket Lab in case we get that next leg up. But I don't think my position size is going to change too drastically. But I do have that goal, that share count goal that I really want to get to. I'm trying to remember where I'm at right now. Hopefully I'm not sharing this. Let me put it on this other screen. Okay, I'm not sharing this. Where am I at right now? Yeah, so I got some work to do, and it's a lot of money now that the share price is $30, $25-$30. I got some work to do, but hopefully slowly, and every time I write cover calls and I make profit, that profit goes into buying Rocket Lab, specifically the Rocket Lab cover calls. But I will say, as a caveat, I will likely stop selling covered calls on Rocket Lab unless, let's say in the 1Q earnings call, they do say that they're pushing Neutron. And if that's the case, I'm excited to see what happens to the stock price that they say if they're pushing Neutron, say a couple months back or something like that. I hope it gives us a little bit of a dip, even 5-10%, because that's a 5-10% discount of shares that I want to buy. And I know I'm going to buy them anyway. So if I can buy them, 5-10% cheaper, I'm going to do that. Someone sending those recruitments to Dougie. Yeah, Dougie's got his launches today as well. Hopefully, let's check. We could check in with him and see how he's done. They made small launch routine, and if they can make mid-size launch routine, it's off to the races. I agree. The only other person right now that's doing it is SpaceX mid-launch. ULA is not even routine. It's like kind of like a hope and a prayer for them. And Blue Origin just had their first, which is kind of like a medium to large launch. Really hopeful that they continue to do well as well. I don't wish poorly upon anybody, but yeah. Elon put $100 million in from PayPal, and that's how he got it started. And yes, I agree. Wild Wild Space is a really good documentary on HBO. Recommend doing that. Ashley Vance did a really good job getting that together. I wish there was a little bit more on the Rocket Lab side. Unfortunately, it covers Astra a lot, and you could probably see why Astra ended up failing. I don't know if that's done intentionally based off of, just really good video editing, or if it really looked like that much of a crapshoot. But I really wish Chris kept the best, and I hope Astra 4 gets off the ground. They're anticipating that they're going to do that. So 71% of revenue comes from other sources than rocket launch, and that will continue to grow. Rocket launch is important, though, and the key to space an undervalued asset. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a terminal revenue limit that you're going to get to with launch that when you think about it, you know, you're going to get to a place where you're launching something into space that's going to generate revenue 4 or 5 years, if not more, depending on what kind of orbit you're putting it into, etc. So it's almost like the revenues you're going to generate from that are going to almost have a continuous build, right? As we continue to put satellites into space and charge for operating and things of the like. So, and that's part of the reason why I asked. I don't know if it was in the second quarter or end of the third quarter call. I asked Peter and I asked Adam. I said, "Hey guys," I was like, "Are you going to do more splitting of the revenue? Because for now, it's kind of hard for us as investors to understand where you guys are all getting your pieces of the pie. And it's a blessing and a curse to only have it as space systems revenue and launch revenue, because at the end of the day, it's like very simple. You know, it's at the most macroeconomic level, and I think it allows them to just focus on what's important, which is continued operations within the organization, and not get bogged down by shareholders. But as somebody that's really a lover of the company and wants to see the company succeed, I would love to see, you know, how much is coming from space operations, right? That third tranche or leg that they have in their remit. How much of it is coming from them being able to operate satellites in space? How much of it is coming from HASTE? How much of it is coming from Electron? How much of it is coming from Neutron? So even launch could be split into three, and then also within the satellites business itself, how much of it is them selling parts? How much of it is them like creating buses and actually kind of like selling their actual satellites to others? And then how much of it is consulting, engineering fees, all that? I could say you could split that up, you know, to Kingdom Come. So in that respect, you know, could be a drag on how much you actually put into efforts. There's going to be 3 companies dominating space over the next 5 to 10 years. Barrier to entry is too high, and these 2 will be far ahead. Hey, man, I think a lot of people thought that SpaceX was going to be the only company. And so that the fact that you have Blue Origin and Rocket Lab coming behind, yes, still far behind, but I think it'll be interesting to see how the next 5 to 10 years pan out, and if a lot of other players drop out. And with that, the acquisitions and consolidation of the space, I think that the 2025, 2026 will be ripe with that. The worst part is answering up from $5. But like you said, we wish we all DCA'd into Palantir within the $30. That's, yes, I said this last night on Palantir Weekly. My biggest mistake with Palantir was not adding on the way up. I was just like, you know, I was always kind of saying, you know, it'll be, and I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because Rocket Lab was so cheap, and Palantir continued to go up and to the right. But in reality, I probably could have done better or just as well spreading that money into both. But at the same time, what I recognized was basically for Rocket Lab, it was too cheap for me to pass up. And so I would say, you know, I'm going to take $100,000 gamble on this, invest, and it paid off well. We're hoping that we continue to do well with it, but we'll see. You know, we will have to see with that. But yes, don't be afraid to buy more shares. You know, it all evens out in the end, in my opinion. To me, it's not necessarily about where you are and what you're paying today. It's about in 10 years' time, do you think the company's going to be cheaper? And if you say to yourself, no, I think the company's going to be worth 20 times what it is right now with X amount of risk, and you're okay with taking on those risks, then buy the damn stock, you know? And what's going to end up happening is it might seem like a lot of money right now, but as your portfolio matures, you're going to be like, damn, I only put that much in. I could have pushed harder. And that's what I've recognized about a lot of my investments. I think the same about Google. I think about the same about Amazon. I always was pushing. I was putting thousands of dollars in every month, here, there, buying, 20 shares here, 20 shares there. Rocket Lab, I was buying 100 shares here, 300 shares there. Keep in mind the magnitude of the share price back then. And at the end of the day, you're always going to go, if you're doing your investments right, you're always going to say, damn, I could have put more in. So push yourself, and eventually you'll be well rewarded. Frank, what's going on, my guy? I'm the Third Coast, down here in HTX, Houston, Texas. Great coverage. I appreciate you, Nick. I appreciate you. Yeah, forget about Twitch. Or you forgot about Twitch. Yeah. We'll see. Was there no recovery on the first stage? I don't think so. I don't think that they're doing that right now. I think they're focusing all on Neutron. Do you think we hear about confidential reaction wheel customer on earnings? I don't know. They're up to 2,000 wheels at this point. We might hear about it. But that's definitely a Scott question. Scott would definitely know the answer to that. Yes, it would be awesome to have a launch date for Neutron on earnings. If anything, there's a lot to get done. So hopefully we start to see some regular cadence out of the company on social media about how much they're achieving. I would love to see increased cadence with HASTE launches and some more info about how the money from the CHIPS Act was deployed to enhance New Mexico manufacturing facility. I would love that as well. I'm excited about the HASTE launches as well. We're just over 18 months since that first launch in June, July of 2023 from Wallace, Virginia, the first launch, believe it or not, from Wallace, Virginia for Rocket Lab. And since then, we've had a couple HASTE launches. And so with that, I'm hoping that we continue to build on that cadence to a point where we almost replicate, if not surpass at some point, what we've done with Electron over the last 7 to 8 years. Which reminds me, I need to update my graphic as to how many launches they had within. Actually, I should do that right now. You guys can do it with me. How many launches and everything we had? Rocket Lab. Wait, where's my launches? Don't I have launches in here? I thought I did. Launch? Electron launch cadence? I need to add these two together. What am I doing? One thing that I need to do about Rocket Lab, though, is I was expecting them to get 17 last year. But here we are. I have to update this graphic. The first to 100. So the Falcon 9 is here. This is what Falcon 9 delivered. This is what Electron is on in terms of years of launching. So we are on 6 or 6. I think we're here, 6 or 7. We crossed over this 50. So I'm anticipating we're going to get, I have here that we're going to get 18, whether or not we do or not. But our hope is not this year, but next year we cross over 100 launches. Otherwise, we have to do it by 2027 because that's when SpaceX was able to do it, the Falcon 9. So if we're able to get like 20 this year, let's just see, 20 this year, 20 next year. Dang. We basically have to get 21 and 21. 21 over the next 2 years. And we'll be able to get it done faster than SpaceX. But I'm just going to go 18, 19, and 20 for now until we get more details. But even with the current pace, we're going to outpace to 100 by about half a year, maybe a year earlier than SpaceX did. But this is my cadence for Neutron, this yellow. So we'll see. I need to update this, though, with the actual launches. This is kind of cool. The actual days, the red is kind of the average, the trailing 12 month, trailing 5 launch average. Interesting. You have days between launch. The hope is that you get one off. You know, I think the terminal rate, I should put the terminal rate on here. I think the terminal rate's going to be once a week. So every 7 days. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. Around here. So once we get the red kind of to there. Because every 7 days, that's 52 launches a year. That's kind of my short to medium term goal for the company, whether that's with haste or what. Haste included or not, you know. Let's go back. Let's see. Reaction wheels, haste launches, CHIPS Act. Question: can anyone confirm that we already have a backlog of at least 2 customers for Neutron? Yes, confirmed. I know that one has been announced. Multiple have been announced, actually. Let's go to news. We had the one that had 2. Multi-launch. Share this tab. Next Electron. Yes. So NASA to provide the Neutron launch service under the VADR launch contract. So that's NASA. And then the other one, which people are speculating, is Amazon, I think. Where was it? Am I missing it? "24 hours. Yes, multi-launch with confidential customer and constellation operator." So yes, at least 2 customers, at least 3 launches. At least 3 launches. I know you guys can't read that. It's okay. But yes, at least 3 launches. They're going to come out and just unveil Neutron. That's why they're quiet. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully they're just like, you know, you have some sort of video of earnings, and they're like, here's the completely wet tested integrated one. Something I've got to get you, Jed. Thanks for streaming. Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. Always a good time seeing you. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. Grog says at least confirmed for 2 launches and has hinted at additional demand. Let's see. Heard Peter mention 2 Neutron launches in 2025, whether this test launches or actual paid customer. I know for the fact the first one will be a test launch. Whether or not they launch something on their own to test out the full capability is beyond me. If I were spending $300 million to put a candle into space, I would do that personally. But just like how they've tested with many rockets in the past, like Blue Origin tested their blue ring product. I'm hoping that it's comparable and they do something similar, but we'll find out. They have enough satellite test beds, but I would anticipate that they would want to try to utilize the full fairings and deployment test engines, etc., before they launch official customers. But to me, I think the thing that is going to be beautiful is once you get the actual landing from Neutron, and it might happen, you know, day 1, launch 1, might happen launch 2. But to me, I hope that they don't wait around for customers to be able to test. I hope that even though it costs the company money, I think getting themselves to a place where they can test that they can land the rocket will be huge, even if that requires coming out of pocket, because in the long term, being able to do that will, 1, unlock more customers, I believe, and then 2, it will lower expenses for the company way faster. So for me, it's like if you were to say pay for 1 or 2 launches, and on the second launch you're able to land it, that just demonstrates to the world, hey, we can land these things. Reusability is going to be a thing, and hopefully the people would hope that their costs would eventually go down. But in reality, I think it's more along the lines of the margin for Rocket Lab is going to go up. But it could be both, honestly. But in my opinion, I think that it would be worthwhile for Rocket Lab to spend the extra 20-30 million. They've already spent the majority of the money developing the rocket and the systems and the factories to build it. That's the expensive part. I think building another rocket isn't the big part. That might be 20-30 million, and then all the operations around it might be 5 to 10 million. So that's where you get to the cost of about $40 million a rocket. But getting to the point where you're reusable, if you're able to use it up to 10 times, has been kind of expected, then that cost of 25 to 30 million to build it drops to $2.5 to $3 million per launch. Of course, you're still going to have the costs associated with the auxiliary things, fueling it, getting it to the location, getting it all set up, getting all the right permits, etc. I'm sure that'll still cost in the range of $5 to $10 million. So each launch, even at a cadence of 10, is still going to cost, just south of 20 million, if not slightly below 15, if you're lucky. But hopefully the rest of that goes to gross margins over time. Let's see. Yes, I think they're still hoping for 2 launches, but we will see. There was subpoena not be implement Constellation. Is that true? I hope not. I have not heard that rumor. I've only heard that they are going to implement one. They're just focusing right now on Neutron, and so they're not necessarily announcing anything with respect to the Constellation until Neutron is up and running. What's TAM? Sorry, totally new to the space sector. Total addressable market, and there's different things as well with respect to, what specifically are you looking at? Are you looking at the space systems TAM, the launch TAM, total addressable market? Yeah. Was the one launch a test launch or a paid launch? I swear I heard him say 2. At the moment, I think the first launch is definitely a test launch. I'm not sure so much if they're going to have a second launch before they launch. I think that from what I'm understanding, let me see, this test thing here says, let's read this together. This is the first announcement. Launch from Launch Complex 3. Let's see, multi-year launch, confidential commercial customer, mid-26. So this gives them time between the first launch, fingers crossed, and the second launch. Maybe they do 2 launches. To me, if they have the ability to do a second launch before mid-2026, I would do it, right? And then just have a fresh rocket for 2026 as well. Do you think Rocket Lab can get into the drone industry? I have been contemplating this just based off the hypersonics of HASTE. I don't know the answer, but at the moment, what we do have is we have the hypersonics that might be able to get drones into the right area. So just like we were kind of seeing with this graphic on the screen here, it's like if you have a HASTE rocket, and granted, the HASTE is going to be suborbital. This is trying to get into orbit, right? But if you think about it, let's just say you're 3,000 miles away. To launch a plane, it's going to be 4 to 5 hours to get 3,000 miles. But if you launch a hypersonic rocket, to be able to get some sort of nearby trajectory. So whether you need communications more rapidly, you need overhead surveillance, UAV support, etc. In a remote location, you could do that better than maybe and faster than maybe a normal plane could. So I don't view HASTE as some sort of offensive tool. I view it as an offensive tool. I don't think anywhere within they have labeled anything that it should be used for offense. And in fact, I think if anything, it's going to be used for some sort of Iron Dome-like capability in the United States. That's speculation, of course. But like I said, I think if anything, HASTE is going to be used for defensive, not offensive, if that makes any sense. Yeah, SpaceX is so backlogged, right? These guys, I'm not sure if this was it. No, Kineis has always been scheduled, but the fact that people are able to reach out to Rocket Lab within 3 months or so, get something up in the air is pretty good. And that just happened recently in December. So must have a long-term view, at least 10 years, slow and steady wins the race. I agree. I think a lot of people are so used to these quick wins, though. Erwin, what's going on, my guy? I don't know why I didn't see you. I need to do something for you. Where are you at? There you are. There you go. Thanks, my guy. You're the man. You're the man. My guy bought shares for a 7-year-old kid in his Roth. I think you pointed me in to do some due diligence will change his life. Hey, man, I didn't change your life. I'm just a shepherd. These guys that are actually doing the stuff on the screen are the ones that are changing people's lives. You know, they're literally putting rockets up into space. They're putting satellites up into space to change life here on Earth. And so to me, I'm just a guy that's just like, this is cool. I'm just a guy in Houston, you know, kind of obsessed with space, kind of obsessed with rockets. Not kind of really obsessed, but I have a fancy for them, you know. So for me to just stream about it, hang out with people, and be able to live stream it, if that means that it'll unlock the visibility for the company to you, then I'm happy to have been that shepherd. But by no means am I the one doing any work, right? I'm just a guy that happened to just see the opportunity that, you know, somebody introduced me to the company. You know, I didn't do this on my own due diligence, you know, initially. Granted, I dove deeper and added more and more and more. But my buddy Cole, back when it was Vector Acquisition Group, just announced it. And I'd heard of Rocket Lab, but I didn't do much due diligence. I'd heard that they had launched some rockets as a small launch provider, and they're getting up their cadence, etc. That I heard they're going public, and I was like, I got to be a part of that, you know. And so with that, my buddy Cole nudged me and said, here you go. Did some more due diligence, and I fell in love with it. And initially I was seeing that they got $750 million from the SPAC. And then they started buying all these other damn space components. And I'm like, why are we buying satellite components? We're a launch company, you know, what the hell? And it wasn't really until the 2022 Investor Day where I listened to Adam and those guys talk for an hour and a half about the vision and really understanding that this thing is bigger than launch. It's bigger than what we can imagine. And because I just assumed, like, okay, we're going to be launch guys and NASA and all them are going to be driving the satellite. And I didn't really realize that it was really the fact that the movement and the movement of the space industry was going to be complete privatization of everything, satellites and launch and everything. And really, it's just about vision and what we need to get done from NASA's perspective, et cetera, to be that. So anyway, I wouldn't thank me, man. I would thank Peter Beck and the teams over across the United States and as well as New Zealand. Those guys are awesome. You think Rocket Lab will at some point be flying missions for intuitive machines? Of course, I think so. Why not? Why not? They're still in the running for potentially launching the Space Development Agency constellation. So if you guys remember the 18 or so satellites that Rocket Lab is going to be creating for the Space Development Agency, they're still hopefully going to be doing that launch. They're still up. Nobody knows who's going to launch them yet. I don't think that that's been awarded. Let's see. Would I go to space? I don't think there's a vehicle specific for me to go to space. I'm a bigger guy too. I don't know. I don't think I fit in most sedans. So it'd be difficult. Yeah. Is this mission a polar orbit? I don't know. I know it's orbit, but polar, I don't know what that means. I'm not smart enough. Nick, thank you for the $10 super chat, my guy. Much appreciated. Just happy to be here. Happy to stream. Commercial clients aren't necessarily SpaceX priority. They're 100% Rocket Lab's priority. Yeah, we did have a good conversation. So as long as it makes money, more so than the constellation, they stated that they will definitely launch them. So I asked Adam point blank. I said, well, you know, what kind of returns should we be expecting on the constellation, et cetera? He wasn't ready to disclose that yet. So it's during you can find this on the interview that we did. I don't know if it was this last time, so 3 months ago or 6 months ago, but basically stated that, hey, if the economics look better to launch a commercial customer, we'd much rather do that. So these guys have their own kind of internal rules that they have. But they're hoping that about 50% of the launches for Neutron are for eventually Rocket Lab's constellation, comparable to what you see at SpaceX with the Falcon 9. Do you think Rocket Lab will host supersonic commercial travel like New York to Tokyo in 30 minutes? I think it's plausible, potentially plausible, but I definitely think that we need to get past the launch first, and we need to get past the constellation piece first. Rocket Lab's constellation piece. We asked Peter, because if you looked at the 2022 Investor Day presentation, there's a slide. I remember asking Peter about this specifically in one of my chats with him, and I asked him specifically. I was just like, at the moment, you guys don't have plans for human transport or anything. He's like, well, no, we don't ever plan on being meat transport folks, but they basically have gotten approval that Neutron could move people. It's capable, right, to be able to do that. So we'll find out more, I'm assuming, once we actually get the launch, but I don't think it's in their plans at the moment, but I could see it in the future, maybe. I know that the thought process is there is a, when you look at Neutron, actually, let me see if I can pull this up, which is actually very interesting. I don't think a lot of people keep track of this. Path to liftoff. It's a shame I can't share this music because it's all whatchamacallit, royalty. So dang it. I was hoping that it has it in here, but there's a fully expendable version of Neutron that would be 17,000 kilograms. There's a reusable downrange, which is 15,000 kilogram launch lift capability, and then there's the return to pad. The initial, that's going to be 13,000. So at the moment, everyone quotes the 13,000, but if you fully expend and you get rid of some of that, then you're able to lift more, which I guess may or may not be useful depending on what you're doing. And then downrange is 15,000. So maybe you don't necessarily have to, use as much fuel to come back. I don't know. You can utilize. So I'm curious to see how that works over time. But that was interesting, and I don't know where I saw that, but that's something to keep in mind, because I think every time people are really starting to quote that 13,000 number, and that is the number I would go with initially, because I think that's what we're trying to do, is return that initial stage one back to the pad and wallops, and that'll be 13,000 kilograms. But if you're able to basically go down range, it'll be 15 to 17,000. So that'll be fun. Explanation helps us feel better about our investments and educate us. Well, my hope is that I just maybe, I don't know everything. I'm not the rocket scientist. I'm not on the ground or anything like that. I just like the company, and with that, I put a little bit of effort into it, and hopefully with that, able to explain things maybe slightly better. Maybe you guys don't have the time, and I get it. It takes a lot to do due diligence on some of this stuff, and so it's a lot of fun. Well, I wasn't expecting to hang out until these deployments, but we might as well. We're already 50 minutes in. I know that pretty much that's about when they're supposed to deploy these things. So hopefully we can go towards steady launch. In the meantime, I'm going to update this graphic because it's been a minute. So let's see. Do they have the Electron launch? They have all the successful launches. This is launched. Well, you guys over here, I'll be more than happy to answer any sort of questions. I'm just going to update my beautiful spreadsheet. For this. So this is launched. We had February 9th, man. Can't believe it. I can't believe it. So we had one on the 24th of November, 25th of November. Share this with you guys. We had one on the 24th of November, 25th November. And then this was just me estimating when these things would happen. So launch 57 was actually, we didn't end up getting 17 launches. We only got 16. So 57 launch 57. So we got the 24th, 25th. Did I miss a launch in here? Might be missing a launch. We got changes in latitude. 24th, 25th. So there might have been a launch that they didn't put on here yet. Interesting. Or maybe I'm just not smart, which is also possible. So we go from the 25th to 12, 22, 2024. I thought we had something else. I thought we had another haste. I thought we had two hastes. Oh, there's one. Yeah, there's two. Okay. Interesting. Let's make sure I'm sharing over here. I don't know where this is. So I'm going to delete this. And at the moment, but I have 58 launches now, not 59. So I'm missing some somewhere, which is fine. 2, 9, 2025. 49 days since the last launch, man. Insanity. Yep, here we are. Somewhere. I'll have to go through it and check it all. Let me just check 2024. I have it all. Jan 31st, February 19th, March 13th, March 21st, April 24th, May 25th, June 5th, June 19th, August 3rd, August 11th, September 20th, 5th of November. Yeah, so 2024 is good. What about 2023? I'm sure I screwed something up somewhere. Start at the beginning. Jan 24th, 2023, March 16th, March 24th, 5th of May, 26th of May, 18th of June, 18th of July, August 24th, September 19th, 15th of December. I'll find it, man. I'll find it eventually. Maybe it wasn't the 59th launch. I was told it was the 59th launch. So maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe I'm going crazy. Okay, back to reality. I thought they were supposed to come in by now. Anyway, curious to hear you guys' thoughts. We're probably going to be... I'm curious to see what Twitter says. If Rocket Lab has come up with anything. Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab. So they've achieved nominal orbit. Electron kick stage now coasting in orbit with Kineis. What did they say it was earlier? Kineis. IoT's 5 satellites on orbit. So yes, this was a very underutilized launch. 125 kilograms versus the 330 kilograms that can launch. And that's the latest that they have. 46 minutes ago. And they have the launch on X live stream. So we're just hanging, waiting out. Waiting. Let's see. Where's the launch site? They have a launch site in New Zealand, which is Launch Complex 1. There's 2 launch pads there. Thank you, Melanie. And then they have one in Virginia, Eastern Virginia. Now we got Vince and them. We will be switching over to a different link for Rocket Lab Weekly. I didn't expect this to go on so long. But Vince is creating one for Rocket Lab Weekly, so we'll hop over to that. And eventually, sometime today, guys, you have to hold me accountable. Okay, you guys have to hold me accountable because sometime today, my passport's expiring in May, and I keep having people say, Matt, take me on vacation. Or I have another guy that's like, Matt, let's meet up, let's talk business and vacation. And then I'm also like, I need to get the hell out of Dodge. America is a 72-hour sort of place, and I've been here for way too damn long. I've been back since August. I need to get the hell out. Maybe it was September. I forget. I went to the UK in September. I've been back since. And when I went home, it's back to Philadelphia area. So I haven't left. I haven't left the country in 4 months. And your boy's itching. He needs to get the hell out. Whether it's Caribbean, I don't know. I got other people messaging me, and I feel like an ass because I haven't renewed my passport. I just got to do it. I got to do it. It's not hard. It's not hard. I just need to get my damn picture done. I see SpaceX from Vandenberg for launches, LA County. We got Rocket Lab versus NVIDIA on 10-year return. Which you see would do better? Tempted to sell your small NVIDIA position, increase Rocket Lab. I think that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Some people think that NVIDIA is going to be cyclical. Some people think it's going to not be cyclical and it's going to be consistent. I don't know. I don't know what to think. All right. Let me get this set up. Don't tell me. I want to go to St. Lucia really bad. When I was living in Trinidad, man, before the pandemic, I was trying to get every location down. I was trying to get every location down, and unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I wasn't able to do it. So hopefully now, hopefully now I can maybe get after it. I would love St. Lucia. St. Lucia is beautiful. I've only heard good things. Only heard good things. Just setting up Rocket Lab Weekly. My G. Yes, I saw. That's what I was mentioning. I got other people telling me I need to do stuff. And I've been slacking. I need to get my passport updated. What am I doing? I need to do it today. After Rocket Lab Weekly, I will put my big boy pants on. Well, I probably should shower. Shower, right? I should shower. Gotta have the hair looking all good. And then I gotta go to Walgreens. Just get a passport photo. It's not hard. It's not hard to get a passport photo. But Uncle Matty over here, he's slacking. He's been slacking. I keep having Tevis. Tevis is like, Matty, let's go on vacation. And I'm like, calm down, Tevis. Just kidding. No, Tevis is inspiring me, and so is my boy Fool's Gold over here. I keep slacking, and then next thing you know, they're gonna ask me to do something for work, and I gotta go to
An Electron rocket successfully lifted off for the 59th time, carrying 5 satellites for French IoT constellation operator Kineis. For the past 50 minutes or so, those satellites have been coasting around Earth attached to Electron's kick stage, ready for payload deployment. About 10 minutes ago, we actioned our circularization burn, which was conducted by the 3D printed Curie engine. That engine is designed and manufactured by our team to provide in-space propulsion. It enables us to raise or lower orbits and conduct plane changes. It basically ensures that our customer satellites get to very precise destinations, often within single digits of the target. This is a pretty rare feat in spaceflight.
The satellites for today's mission will deploy in a very specific sequence. First up is a single satellite attached to the top of the kick stage, followed by the other 4 in pairs from opposite sides of the payload plate. Now, let's throw it back to the brains in mission control to listen out for those calls now.
I just had somebody send me that they have pizza. I won't say who, just to keep their seriously. They can chat, put it in the chat if they want. But it's just their kids, and they said, "Where are you, Matt Money?" They're just stuffing their face with pizza. They're waiting, obviously, for the stream to start.
1 deployment confirmed.
You guys make my day every day, man. Between the super chats, between just the camaraderie, I'm really loving this.
The first of 5 for today's mission successfully deployed. Now, if you keep an eye on the animation on your screen, you'll see some pretty slick dance moves from the kick stage to orientate us in a precise manner for the next deployment. Then we'll be flipping back the other way for the final sequence.
Yeah, let's hear this.
Kineis 2 and 4 deployment confirmed.
Kineis 2 and 4 now joining their siblings on orbit. This is the 17th and 18th satellite deployed for Kineis, with 19 and 20 coming up in the next 30 seconds.
You listen to this music? Make kids to this music, I wouldn't know what that is. I'm a Catholic church going boy. Virgin until marriage. But if I knew, you know what I'm saying.
Kineis 3 and 5 deployment confirmed.
If I knew how to practice or do any of that stuff.
That is 5 for 5. All payloads deployed to orbit. Congratulations to the launch team and congratulations to our mission partners, Kineis. Welcome to orbit once again. Now we have one final dedicated Electron launch coming up for Kineis later this year. This will see to deploy the 5 remaining satellites in their constellation, bringing the total to 25 spacecraft. We look forward to teaming up once again.
Yes.
So with that, our 59th Electron launch is done and dusted. On to the big 6-0 next. We'll be sharing details of our next mission on our website and social media channels too. We look to ramp up launch cadence through. Thanks for joining us today, and see you back on the pad soon. This is Rocket Lab Mission Control signing off.
I'm with Spencer, man. I don't know how they did it. They got that astronaut out there. Who's gonna go get that astronaut? That's a good question. It's a really good question. All right, everybody. Vince, the host of Rocket Lab Weekly, has just sent me the link. I'm putting that in the description. Please, 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 as Sabrina Carper would say, don't go. And with that, I'm sending you guys the link over to that. Hopefully you guys will be over there waiting for us in just 10 minutes. Go get some coffee, fill up on your popcorn. Vince, I'm sure, has a bunch load and a backlog of topics. And then, thinking about Alaska cruise, Lisa? Sorry, I saw that. It got me all fired up. Alaska's beautiful, man. I need to go visit more of it. Obviously, I visited Anchorage and a little bit of the surrounding area. Was thinking about taking a job up there. But unfortunately, I did not. Fortunately or unfortunately, because I'm here where I am today and I'm having a great time. But with that, we will take a pause on live streaming and we will see you guys over on the new stream. You guys rock. Thank you for all the super chats, Fool's Gold, many of you others. And the Patreon is just absolutely popping off. So you guys that have signed up for the Patreon, I love you. Please let me know how I can give you guys more value. Popcorn. Yeah, I have to be a good boy. I can't do those things. If you want to partake in those sorts of things, please, by all means. I don't condone it, but you're grown adults. You can make your own decisions. But yes, popcorn for certain. I have my skinny pop over here. I got some trail mix in case I need a little bit of nibbles. But we will see you guys on Rocket Lab Weekly in just 6-7 minutes. So you guys rock. Thank you guys so much for making my Saturday afternoon We will see you next time for launch number 60. I have to find it in my spreadsheet. I missed the launch. I got to find it. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.